I never thought I'd spend Thanksgiving night locked in my own living room. But there I was, at 68 years old, sitting on my couch in the dark while my daughter slept upstairs in my bed. The deadbolt clicked from the outside. I heard her footsteps fade down the hallway. Then silence. Let me back up. My name is Margaret, though everyone calls me Maggie. I taught third grade for 37 years in Portland, Oregon. When my husband Robert passed 5 years ago, I thought my world had ended, but I learned something about grief. It doesn't destroy you if you don't let it. I kept the house, the 2-story Craftsman we'd bought when Rebecca was still in diapers. I kept the garden Robert loved. I kept living. I have 2 children. David, my youngest, teaches high school English across town. He calls every Sunday, stops by twice a week, helps with yard work without being asked. Then there's Rebecca, Becky, we used to call her. 35 years old, real estate agent, recently divorced. The divorce changed her. Or maybe it just revealed who she'd become. She used to be such a sweet child. Soft curls, gap-toothed smile, always bringing me dandelions from the yard. Somewhere between that little girl and the woman who showed up at my door Wednesday evening, something fundamental had shifted. I watched it happen slowly over the years. The expensive clothes, the new car every 2 years, the friends who measured worth in square footage and granite countertops. When she married Marcus, I tried to be happy for her. He had money, sure. Big house in Lake Oswego, luxury cars, annual trips to Europe. Becky seemed happy, or at least she seemed like she was supposed to be happy. But there was something brittle about her smile at family dinners, something desperate in the way she name-dropped restaurants and brands. The divorce papers came through in September. Marcus kept most of it. The house, the cars, the retirement accounts they'd built together. Becky got a settlement. But from what David told me, she'd burned through it in 2 months. Bad investments, luxury apartment she couldn't afford, trying to maintain a lifestyle that no longer existed. She called me in October. First time we'd really talked in months. "Mom, I'm coming for Thanksgiving. Just us." David can't make it, right? David could make it. We'd already planned the menu, but the way she said it made something prickle at the back of my neck. "David's coming," I said. "It'll be nice, the 3 of us." Silence. Then, "Actually, Mom, I need to talk to you about something important. Maybe just the 2 of us first?" I should have known then. She arrived Wednesday evening, the day before Thanksgiving. I'd spent the afternoon preparing. The turkey was brining, pies cooling on the counter, the good china waiting to be set. The house smelled like cinnamon and nutmeg, like every Thanksgiving Robert and I had hosted for 30 years. Becky's rental car pulled into the driveway at 6. I watched her from the kitchen window. She sat there for a long moment, checking her phone, fixing her makeup. When she finally got out, she didn't look at the house. She didn't look at the garden. She looked at her phone again, typing something quick, then walked to the door. "Hi, Mom." No hug, a brief kiss on my cheek that felt more like obligation than affection. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm so glad you're here. Are you hungry? I made your favorite pot roast." "I'm good. Actually, can we talk? I have some papers I need you to look at." Not "how are you?" Not "the house looks lovely." Not "something smells amazing." Just papers. "Of course," I said, wiping my hands on my apron. "Let me just turn down the oven." She was already in the living room when I came back, her leather briefcase open on the coffee table, documents spread across the surface, official-looking papers with highlighted sections. "What's all this?" I asked, settling into my usual chair. "Mom, we need to talk about your situation." "My situation." "I'm listening," I said carefully. "This house, it's too much for you. 5 bedrooms, 2 floors, the yard. Dad's been gone 5 years. You're here all alone." "I'm not alone. I have David. I have friends. I have my garden club and my book club and, you know what I mean." She leaned forward, her expression shifting into what I recognized as her sales face. Concerned but firm. "You're not getting any younger. What if you fall? What if something happens and no one's here to help?" David checks on me all the time. David has his own life, Mom. He can't be responsible for you forever. I haven't asked him to be responsible for me. I'm perfectly capable. Are you? She gestured around the living room. When's the last time you dusted that bookshelf? When's the last time you cleaned the gutters, changed the furnace filter? I hire people for the things I can't do myself. Exactly. You're spending money maintaining this huge house when you could be somewhere safe, somewhere manageable. I found you a beautiful assisted living community. The brochure's here. She pushed a glossy folder toward me. Active seniors, meal plans, activities. You'd love it. I didn't touch the brochure. Becky, I don't need assisted living. I'm 68, not 98. Mom, please just look at the numbers. She pulled out a spreadsheet. I recognized my address at the top. Your property taxes alone are killing you. Plus utilities, maintenance, insurance. You're hemorrhaging money staying here. This is my home. It's a house, Mom. Dad's gone. We're grown. It's just a building. Just a building. The walls that had heard Rebecca's first words, David's first steps, the kitchen where Robert had taught them both to make pancakes on Sunday mornings, the garden where we'd planted a tree for each of their births. Just a building. I'm not selling, I said quietly. Her jaw tightened. Just look at these papers. I had everything prepared. The market's hot right now. We could get a great price. We? She had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. You, obviously. You'd get the money. I just meant I could handle the sale. It's what I do, remember? And your commission? Mom, that's not what this is about, isn't it? We stared at each other. I saw my daughter's face, but I didn't recognize the coldness in her eyes. You're being stubborn, she said finally. You're being impractical and stubborn, and you're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. This is my home. Your father and I built this life. I'm not giving it up because you think I should. She stood abruptly, gathering the papers. Fine. You don't have to decide tonight. Sleep on it. We'll talk in the morning. But I could see the anger in the set of her shoulders, the way her hands shook slightly as she shoved documents back into her briefcase. I made up your old room, I said, trying to smooth things over. Fresh sheets, extra blankets, thanks. Flat, emotionless, she went upstairs without another word. I heard her door close, not slam, but close with a firmness that felt like punctuation. I sat in the living room for a long time, looking at the framed photos on the mantel. Rebecca at 5, gap-toothed and grinning. Rebecca at 10, skinny legs and soccer cleats. Rebecca at 18, cap and gown, Robert's arm around her shoulders. When did she stop being that girl? I made myself a cup of tea and called David. Hey, Mom, everything okay? Your sister's here. A pause. Already? I thought she wasn't coming until tomorrow. She wanted to talk. About the house. Another pause, longer this time. What about the house? I told him. The papers, the assisted living brochure, the spreadsheet with my address at the top. Jesus, he breathed. Mom, tell me you didn't sign anything. Of course not. Good. Don't. And Mom, I know this is hard, but you need to be careful. She's desperate right now. The divorce wiped her out. I've heard things. What things? She's in debt. Bad debt. Credit cards, personal loans. She burned through her settlement in weeks. I think she's counting on... He stopped himself. Counting on what? Nothing. Never mind. Look, I'll come by in the morning, okay? First thing, we'll have Thanksgiving together like we planned. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house and listened to it breathe. The familiar creaks and sighs, the furnace kicking on, the clock in the hallway ticking steady and sure. I must have dozed off in my chair because the next thing I knew, it was past midnight. The house was dark except for the street lamp glow coming through the windows. My neck was stiff from the awkward angle. I started to get up, then froze. Rebecca was in the dining room. I could see her silhouette through the doorway. She was going through the china cabinet. Becky? I called softly. What are you doing? She jumped, spinning around. In the dim light, I couldn't read her expression. I was just getting water, she said. The kitchen's the other way. I know that. I was just looking at Grandma's china, remembering. She walked past me toward the kitchen. I heard the faucet run. When she came back through, she stopped in the living room doorway. Mom, have you thought any more about what we discussed? It's the middle of the night, Rebecca. I know. But I've been thinking. You're not being fair. To yourself or to me. Fair to you? I'm your daughter. Don't I deserve something after everything you and Dad gave me? There it was. The real conversation. This isn't about what you deserve, I said carefully. This is my home. I'm not ready to leave it. What if you don't have a choice? The words hung in the air between us. What does that mean? I asked. It means you're being unreasonable. Someone needs to make the responsible choice here. She turned and went back upstairs. I heard her door close again. This time it did slam. I sat there in the dark for a long time. My hands were shaking. That felt wrong. All of it felt wrong. At 2 a.m, I heard her footsteps again. Slow, deliberate, coming down the stairs. I stayed very still in my chair, eyes closed, pretending to sleep. The footsteps came into the living room, stopped. I could feel her standing over me, watching. Every muscle in my body screamed to open my eyes, to ask what she was doing, but some instinct kept me frozen. She moved to the front door. I heard it open, heard her go outside. Car trunk opening, closing. She came back in, carrying something. The footsteps went to the dining room again. Sounds of drawers opening, papers rustling. Then she came back to the living room. Stood there again, watching me. Mom, she whispered. I didn't move, didn't respond. She walked to the living room door, the one that led to the hallway. I heard the distinctive sound of the deadbolt sliding into place, the deadbolt that locked from the outside, the one Robert had installed years ago when this room had briefly been David's teenage hangout and we'd wanted to keep the noise contained during his band practice phase. We never used it anymore. I'd forgotten it was even there. But Rebecca remembered. I'm sorry, she whispered through the door, but you're not thinking straight. You need time to realize this is for the best. In the morning, you'll see. You'll sign the papers, and everything will be fine. Her footsteps went back upstairs. I sat there in the dark, in my own living room, locked in like a prisoner. For a moment, I couldn't breathe, couldn't process. My daughter had just locked me in a room on Thanksgiving. I stood up slowly, my knees protesting, walked to the door. The handle turned, but the door didn't budge. The deadbolt was solid, old-fashioned, secure. I pressed my forehead against the wood and closed my eyes. This is what it had come to. My child, the baby I'd nursed through colic and comforted through nightmares, had locked me in a room to force my hand. I turned and surveyed my prison. The living room was comfortable enough. Couch, chairs, bookshelf. But no bathroom, no water, no food. The windows were the old single-hung type, painted shut years ago. Even if I broke one, I was on the second floor if I counted the raised foundation. I'd likely hurt myself trying to climb out. My phone. Where was my phone? Panic fluttered in my chest before I remembered. On the charger, in the kitchen, of course. Rebecca would have seen it there. I was truly locked in, cut off, at the mercy of my daughter's timeline. I sat back down, my mind racing. What was her plan? Keep me here until I signed? What if I needed the bathroom? What if I needed water? I had medications I took with breakfast. What if— No. Panicking wouldn't help. I forced myself to breathe slowly, to think. Rebecca didn't know everything. She thought she held all the cards because she had the key, had the papers, had me trapped. But there were things she didn't know. David would come in the morning. He'd promised, first thing. But would he use his key? He usually knocked first. And would Rebecca answer the door? Would she tell him I was sick, sleeping, didn't want to be disturbed? I needed to think like Rebecca, desperate, determined, willing to lock her own mother in a room. What would she do when David showed up? I stood again and went to the windows. They faced the street. David would park in the driveway, walk to the front door. If I could signal him somehow, I looked around for something to write with. A throw pillow. I could stuff it in the window, maybe? But the windows didn't open, and breaking one would alert Rebecca. Think, Maggie. Think. The bookshelf. I walked over and ran my hands along the spines. Robert's books, my books, books we'd bought and never read. And there, on the bottom shelf, wedged between a cookbook and an atlas, my old day planner from last year. I pulled it out. Inside the front cover pocket, I found it. A pen. A single blue ballpoint pen. But what good was a pen without paper Rebecca would see? I sat on the floor beside the bookshelf and opened the atlas. Found a blank page in the back, one of those note pages publishers include. I tore it out carefully, quietly. Then I wrote, David. I'm locked in living room. Rebecca took my phone. Key in the flower pot by the back door. Use it. Don't let her turn you away. Mom. I folded the paper into a tight square. Then I waited for dawn. The night was endless. I dozed in fits, waking every time the house settled, every time a car passed outside. My back ached from the couch. My mouth felt dry. I needed water desperately. But I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of calling out, of begging. Around 5, the sky started to lighten. Gray dawn crept through the windows. At 6, I heard Rebecca moving upstairs. Shower running, hairdryer, the sounds of someone getting ready for the day. At 7, she came downstairs. I heard her in the kitchen, coffee maker gurgling, toast popping. She came to the living room door. Mom, are you awake? I didn't answer. I know you're probably angry, but this is for the best. You'll see. We'll have a nice Thanksgiving dinner, and we'll talk. And you'll realize I'm right. Still, I said nothing. I'm making breakfast. Are you hungry? The smell of coffee was torture. But I remained silent. Fine, be stubborn. But you can't stay in there forever. Eventually, you'll need the bathroom. You'll need water. And when you're ready to be reasonable, I'll have the papers ready to sign. Her footsteps retreated. I waited. At 8 o'clock, I heard a car in the driveway. I rushed to the window. David's old Honda, thank God. I watched him get out, walk toward the front door. He was carrying a pie. Sweet boy. Bringing dessert, like I'd asked. Rebecca beat him to the door. I saw it open, saw her block the entrance. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see David's confused expression. Rebecca shaking her head, pointing back toward his car. David wasn't buying it. He stepped forward. Rebecca tried to close the door. He put his foot in the way. They argued. I could see David's face getting red, Rebecca's defensive posture. Then David pulled out his phone, calling me. Calling my phone that was in the kitchen. Rebecca lunged for the door, trying to close it. David pushed past her. I heard him in the house. Mom? Mom, where are you? I'm in here, I shouted. In the living room. His footsteps pounded through the house. The deadbolt rattled. What the hell? David's voice, shocked and angry. Rebecca, what the hell did you do? Stay out of this, David. This is between Mom and me. You locked her in? Are you insane? The deadbolt clicked. The door opened. David stood there, his face a mixture of fury and disbelief. Behind him, Rebecca looked defiant and terrified all at once. I stood up slowly, my joints protesting. Mom, are you okay? Did she hurt you? I'm fine, I said. My voice came out rougher than I expected. I need water. David put his arm around me, helped me to the kitchen. Rebecca followed, silent now. I drank 2 full glasses of water at the sink. Then I turned to face both of them. Rebecca, I said quietly, get your things. You need to leave. Mom, if you'd just listen. You locked me in a room. In my own house. On Thanksgiving. My voice stayed calm, but there was steel in it. You treated me like a prisoner. Like an obstacle. Like someone whose wishes don't matter because they're inconvenient for you? I was trying to help you. Help me? The words came out sharper than I intended. You were trying to help yourself. To my house? To my money? You thought if you trapped me long enough, broke me down enough, I'd give you what you wanted. Tears started down her face. But they felt manipulative now. Strategic. I'm in trouble, Mom. I'm in real trouble. I need money. I need— What you need, I interrupted, is to face the consequences of your choices. I'm sorry you're struggling. I'm sorry the divorce was hard, but that doesn't give you the right to abuse me. Abuse? She looked genuinely shocked. That's not what this was. What do you call locking an elderly woman in a room without water, without access to a bathroom, without her medication? She paled. Medication? My blood pressure pills. I take them with breakfast. Did you even think about that? Or were you so focused on forcing my signature that you didn't care if I had a stroke locked in that room? I hadn't actually needed them urgently, but she didn't know that. David stepped between us. Rebecca, you need to go. Now. This isn't your house, she snapped at him. You don't get to kick me out. Actually, I said softly, it's not your house either. Not anymore. Both of them looked at me. Last month, I transferred the house into a family trust. David is the trustee. He'll live here after I'm gone, or sell it and use the proceeds however he sees fit. Either way, Rebecca, you have no claim to it. The silence was absolute. Rebecca stared at me like I'd slapped her. You— What? I saw this coming. Maybe not exactly this, but something like it. I saw the way you looked at the house, like square footage and market value instead of home. I heard the tone in your voice when you talked about my situation, so I made arrangements. When? Her voice was barely a whisper. October. After your first call about Thanksgiving. David helped me meet with the attorney. She turned on David, fury replacing shock. You knew? You helped her do this? I helped her protect herself, David said. From you. Rebecca's face crumpled. Not the strategic tears from before, but real, ugly crying. I'm your daughter. How could you do this to me? How could you lock me in a room? I asked gently. We both have to live with our choices, sweetheart. She grabbed her purse, her coat. You'll regret this. Both of you. The only thing I regret, I said, is that it came to this. She slammed out of the house. We heard her car start, heard gravel spray as she peeled out of the driveway. Then it was just David and me, standing in the kitchen where I'd taught him to make pancakes 25 years ago. I'm sorry, Mom, he said quietly. You have nothing to apologize for. I should have warned you more clearly. I knew she was desperate, but I didn't think she'd actually— He shook his head. Are you really okay? I am now. He hugged me, and I let myself lean into him. My good boy. My kind boy. So, he said when he pulled back, I brought a pumpkin pie, and I'm guessing the turkey's ready to go in the oven? I managed to smile. It is. Then let's have Thanksgiving. Just us. Like we should have planned in the first place. We cooked together. The house filled with the smells of roasted turkey and sage stuffing, sweet potatoes and green beans. We set the table with Grandma's china. We said grace, and when we sat down to eat, just the two of us in that big house, it felt right. Complete. Do you think she'll come back? David asked, passing the cranberry sauce. Eventually, when she's ready to apologize. To really apologize. I looked around the table, at the empty chairs. There's always room for her if she can find her way back to being the daughter I raised, but I won't let her abuse me to get what she wants. David raised his glass. To boundaries. I clinked my glass against his. To boundaries. And to family that remembers what family really means. Later, after the dishes were done and David had left with containers of leftovers, I walked through the quiet house. I stood in the living room where I'd spent that long night locked in. The deadbolt was still there on the doorframe. Tomorrow I'd have David remove it. We didn't need it anymore. I went to the mantel and looked at the photographs again. Rebecca at 5, Rebecca at 10, Rebecca at 18. Somewhere inside the woman who'd locked me in this room, that little girl still existed. Maybe she'd find her way back. Maybe she wouldn't. But either way, I'd be here. In my home. The home Robert and I built. The home I'd protected. I'd be here, and I'd be fine. Because I'd learned a long time ago that love doesn't mean letting people hurt you. Sometimes love means boundaries. Sometimes it means consequences. Sometimes it means saying no, even when it breaks your heart. Especially when it breaks your heart. I turned off the lights and went upstairs to bed, leaving the living room door wide open. Tomorrow was a new day, and I was still standing.